I found it on a Tuesday afternoon in late September, buried at the bottom of a cardboard box that smelled like dust and decades. My grandmother had passed away 3 months earlier, and I'd volunteered to help sort through her belongings. Not out of any particular closeness. Grandma Nellen had always been distant with me, strangely formal in a way she wasn't with my cousins. But someone had to do it, and my mother kept making excuses about being too emotional to handle it. So there I was, alone in Grandma's attic, surrounded by boxes labeled in her careful handwriting. Christmas decorations, photo albums 1960 to 1975, kitchen items. The box I opened wasn't labeled at all. Just plain cardboard, sealed with yellowed tape that cracked when I pulled it. Inside were the kinds of things people keep but never look at. Old receipts, instruction manuals for appliances that no longer existed, warranties that had expired before I was born. I was about to close it and move on when I noticed something wedged against the side. A manila envelope, thick and stiff, like it held something more substantial than papers. I pulled it out carefully. The envelope wasn't sealed, just held closed with a metal clasp that had rusted slightly. There was no writing on the outside, no indication of what it contained or why my grandmother had kept it hidden at the bottom of an unlabeled box. I opened it. Inside was a milk carton. Not a whole carton, just one panel, cut carefully from the rest, folded into a neat square that had been pressed flat for so long it held the creases perfectly when I unfolded it. The paper was yellowed with age, the edges soft and worn, but the image printed on it was still clear enough. A baby's face. Maybe 6 months old, with dark curly hair and light eyes that stared directly at the camera. Below the photo, in bold letters, "Missing child." And beneath that, details I couldn't process at first, couldn't make sense of even as I read them. Name, Emma Grace Mitchell. Date of birth, March 15th, 1994. Missing since September 22nd, 1994. Last seen, St. Mary's Hospital, Portland, Oregon. I stared at the photo for a long time, my hands trembling, my mind trying to make sense of what I was seeing. Because the baby in that photo was me. Not similar to me, not someone who looked like I might have looked as an infant. Me. I recognized the shape of my eyes, the curl of my hair, the slight asymmetry of my ears that I'd always been self-conscious about. I was looking at a picture of myself on a missing child poster from 1994, and the name beneath it wasn't mine. My name was Lily Catherine Harper. I'd been born on March 16th, 1994, in a small hospital in rural Washington, to my mother, Patricia Harper. I'd grown up in a modest house on the outskirts of Seattle, gone to public schools, lived an unremarkable life. That's what I'd always believed. But the date of birth on this milk carton was March 15th, one day earlier than what I'd been told my entire life. And the location was Portland, not Washington, and the name, Emma Grace Mitchell. I read it over and over, trying to make it mean something other than what it clearly meant, but there was no other interpretation. I was holding a missing child poster with my face on it and a name that wasn't mine. My legs gave out. I sat down hard on the dusty attic floor, still clutching the milk carton panel, still staring at that baby's face. My face. How was this possible? Why would my grandmother have this? Why would there be a missing child poster with my photo if I'd been with my mother my whole life? Unless I hadn't been. The thought came slowly, terribly, like a door opening onto a room I'd always known was there but had never dared to enter. What if the story I'd been told about my birth, about my early life, about who I was, what if all of it was a lie? I sat there in my dead grandmother's attic, holding that piece of folded cardboard and still staring at that baby's face. My face. How was this possible? Why would my grandmother have this? Why would there be a missing child poster with my photo if I'd been with my mother my whole life? Unless I hadn't been. The thought came slowly, terribly, like a door opening onto a room I'd always known was there but had never dared to enter. What if the story I'd been told about my birth, about my early life, about who I was, what if all of it was a lie? I sat there in my dead grandmother's attic, holding that piece of folded cardboard, and felt my entire identity begin to crumble. I don't remember leaving my grandmother's house. I must have driven home somehow, must have navigated the 40-minute drive through Seattle traffic, but I have no memory of it. All I remember is sitting in my apartment, the milk carton spread flat on my kitchen table, staring at it like it might suddenly reveal itself to be a joke, a mistake, anything other than what it appeared to be. But it didn't change. The photo remained the same. The name remained the same. Emma Grace Mitchell. I typed it into my phone with shaking hands. The search results loaded slowly, each second stretching into eternity. And then there it was. Multiple news articles from 1994. Local Portland news stations, national coverage. A baby girl, 6 months old, had disappeared from St. Mary's Hospital during a routine checkup. The mother had stepped away for just a moment to use the restroom, to get a cup of coffee, accounts varied. And when she returned, the baby was gone. Security footage showed a woman in nurse's scrubs carrying an infant out through a side entrance. But the footage was grainy, the woman's face partially obscured by a surgical mask, and no identification was ever made. Emma Grace Mitchell was never found. The case went cold within months. The family, Jennifer and David Mitchell, had held out hope for years, appearing on news programs, distributing flyers, maintaining a website dedicated to finding their daughter. I found that website. It was still active, though barely updated. The last post was from 2 years ago, on what would have been Emma's 28th birthday. We still think of you every day. We still hope. We still love you. Come home. Below it was a photo, an age progression image showing what Emma might look like as an adult. The face staring back at me could have been my driver's license photo. I felt like I was drowning, like the air in my apartment had turned to water and I couldn't breathe through it. My birthday. My mother had always celebrated my birthday on March 16. I'd seen my birth certificate, a faded photocopy that my mother kept in a filing cabinet, always saying the original had been lost in a move. March 16, 1994, born in Cascade Regional Hospital, Washington. But the milk carton said March 15, St. Mary's Hospital, Portland. One day, one city, one name. Such small differences. But together, they meant everything. I thought about my childhood, trying to remember anything that might confirm or deny what I was thinking, but my memories felt unreliable suddenly, like I was looking at them through warped glass. I'd always known I was different from my cousins. Darker hair, lighter eyes, different build.
My mother used to say I took after my father's side, a father I'd never met, who'd left before I was born, or so I'd been told. There were no photos of me as an infant. None. My mother said they'd been lost in a fire, or a flood, or a move. The story changed depending on when I asked. The first photo anyone had of me was from around age 2. Already walking and talking. Already Lily. Already whoever my mother had decided I would be. I pulled out my phone again, my hands still trembling, and scrolled to my mother's contact. I needed answers, and I needed them now. But as my thumb hovered over the call button, I hesitated, because part of me already knew what those answers would be. Part of me had always known, in that deep, wordless way that children know when something fundamental is wrong. My mother had never been warm with me, never quite natural. There was always a performance to our relationship, her playing the role of mother, me playing the role of daughter, both of us following a script that neither of us had written. I'd always thought it was just her personality, that she was cold, distant, emotionally unavailable. But what if it was something else? What if she was distant because I wasn't really hers? I didn't call. Not yet. I needed more information first. More proof. Because if I was right, if the impossible, terrible thing I was thinking was actually true, then confronting my mother without evidence would accomplish nothing. She'd deny it, gaslight me, make me question my own sanity. I needed to be certain. So instead of calling my mother, I pulled up the contact for my great-aunt Ruth, my grandmother's younger sister, the family member who'd always seemed slightly uncomfortable at gatherings, who'd watched me with sad, knowing eyes, and who'd hugged me a little too tightly at my grandmother's funeral and whispered, "I'm so sorry," in a way that felt like it meant more than condolences. If anyone knew the truth, it would be her.
Aunt Ruth lived in a small house in Tacoma, about 30 miles south of Seattle. I called her that evening, my voice shaking as I asked if I could visit. "Of course, dear," she'd said, but there was something in her tone, wariness, maybe, or resignation. "Is everything all right?" "I need to ask you about something," I said. "Something I found in Grandma's attic." A long pause, then, "I see. Come tomorrow, morning is best." I barely slept that night, kept staring at the milk carton, at my infant face, at the name that wasn't mine. Kept refreshing the Mitchells' website, reading their desperate pleas for information, looking at photos of Jennifer Mitchell. A woman with my eyes, my smile, my hands. A woman who might be my mother. I arrived at Aunt Ruth's house at 9 a.m. She opened the door before I could knock, like she'd been watching for me. "Come in," she said quietly. I made tea. We sat in her small living room, teacups balanced on our knees, neither of us drinking. "Show me," she said finally. "Show me what you found." I pulled the folded milk carton from my bag and handed it to her. Her hands shook as she unfolded it. When she saw the photo, the name, the details, she closed her eyes, and a single tear slid down her cheek. "Oh, Lily," she whispered. "I hoped you'd never find this." "It's me," I said, my voice breaking. "Isn't it? That's me in the photo." She nodded slowly, not opening her eyes. "Yes." "And my name isn't Lily." "No." The confirmation hit me like a physical blow, even though I'd known somewhere deep down that it was true. "My mother," I said carefully, "isn't my mother." Aunt Ruth opened her eyes then,
looking at me with profound sadness. Patricia she loves you in her way, but no, she didn't give birth to you. Then who did? A woman named Jennifer Mitchell. Your mother's name is Jennifer Mitchell, and she's been looking for you for almost 30 years. The room spun. I gripped the armrest of my chair, trying to steady myself. Tell me everything, I said. Please, I need to know. Ruth set down her teacup with trembling hands. Your mother, Patricia, she couldn't have children. She had tried for years, gone through fertility treatments, suffered multiple miscarriages. It broke something in her, made her desperate. So she stole a baby, I said flatly. She never saw it that way. In her mind, she was saving you. She'd convinced herself that you were meant to be hers, that fate or God or something had put you in her path. How? Ruth took a deep breath. She worked at St. Mary's Hospital in Portland as a nurse. She'd been there for years, working in pediatrics, surrounded by babies she could never have. My stomach turned. She took me from the hospital where she worked? Yes, September 22, 1994. You were there for a routine checkup. Your mother, Jennifer, had stepped out for just a moment, and Patricia, Ruth's voice broke. She put on scrubs, picked you up, and walked out. Just like that. She brought you home and told everyone she'd had a baby, that you were hers. And everyone believed her? I asked, incredulous. She had been pregnant. Or she had said she was. Told everyone she was expecting, showed all the signs. But there was never a baby. I think she lost it early on and couldn't accept it. Couldn't let go of the fantasy. So when you appeared, she just presented you as the child she'd been claiming to expect. And no one questioned it? You did. Your grandmother did. Helen knew something was wrong. Patricia had been acting strange, erratic. And then suddenly there was a baby, but no hospital records, no birth announcement, nothing official. Helen demanded answers. What did my mother say? That she'd had you at home, that it was a private birth, no doctors, no paperwork. And then she produced documents, a birth certificate, medical records. All forged, I'm sure now, but at the time, we wanted to believe her. It was easier than accepting the alternative. That she'd kidnapped a child? Yes. Ruth wiped her eyes. Helen never fully believed her. Kept asking questions, looking for inconsistencies. I think that's why Patricia moved away from Portland so quickly, to get away from Helen's scrutiny. By the time she settled in Washington, you were older, the story was established, and it was easier for everyone to just accept it. But Grandma kept that milk carton. Why? Insurance, maybe? Or guilt? Or hope that someday the truth would come out? Helen was a complicated woman. She loved Patricia. She was her daughter, after all. But she knew what had been done was wrong. I think keeping that evidence was her way of acknowledging that, even if she never acted on it. Why didn't you? I asked, anger creeping into my voice. Why didn't you tell someone? Why didn't you save me? I wanted to, Ruth said, tears streaming down her face now. God help me, I wanted to, but Patricia was my niece, Helen's daughter. And you seemed happy, cared for. I told myself that disrupting your life would hurt you more than help you. I told myself that maybe Patricia was right, that maybe you were meant to be with her. I wasn't meant to be with her, I said, my voice hard. I was stolen. There's a family out there who's been grieving for me for 30 years. A mother who's been wondering if her baby is alive or dead. And you knew. You all knew. And you did nothing. I know, she whispered. I know, and I'm so sorry. I've carried that guilt every day of your life. every time I looked at you, I saw that mother's face on the news, begging for her baby back, and I did nothing." We sat in silence for a long moment. Then, Ruth stood shakily and walked to a closet in the hallway. She reached up to the top shelf and pulled down a shoebox covered in dust. She sended me the box. And when I opened it, I found the rest of my stolen life.
My hands shook as I lifted the lid off the shoebox. Inside, carefully arranged like evidence in a trial, were pieces of a truth that had been hidden for nearly 3 decades. On top was a hospital bracelet, tiny, meant for an infant's wrist, with a date printed on it. September 22, 1994, and a name, Baby Girl Mitchell. I held it up to the light, this small plastic band that had been on my wrist the day I was taken. "Helen cut it off you," Ruth said quietly, "the day Patricia brought you home. Patricia hadn't thought to remove it, or maybe she'd been too panicked to notice, but Helen saw it, cut it off before anyone else could see, and she kept it." Beneath the bracelet were newspaper clippings, yellowed and brittle, but still readable. "Baby disappears from Portland Hospital. Family pleads for information in missing infant case. 6-month-old Emma Mitchell still missing after 3 months." Each article had been carefully cut out, folded, preserved. My grandmother had been following the case, had known exactly who I was and where I'd come from. "She could have turned in her own daughter," I said, my voice hollow. "She had the evidence." "I know," Ruth said. "But Helen was torn. Patricia was her child too. And in some twisted way, I think Helen convinced herself that keeping you safe and loved was more important than returning you to strangers, even if those strangers were your real family." There were photos, too, not of me, but of Jennifer and David Mitchell, cut from news broadcasts, printed from websites, Jennifer holding a stuffed animal that might have been mine, David standing at a press conference looking devastated. And then at the bottom of the box, a letter. The envelope was addressed to Jennifer Mitchell, but it had never been sent, never even sealed. I pulled out the letter inside, written in my grandmother's careful handwriting. "Dear Mrs. Mitchell, I know where your daughter is. I have known for 3 years. She is alive and healthy, being raised by my daughter who has loved her as her own. I have struggled every day with whether to tell you this. I have written this letter 100 times and torn it up 100 times. I am a coward. I cannot bring myself to destroy my daughter's life, even though I know she has destroyed yours. I cannot bring myself to take Emma away from the only mother she has known, even though you are her real mother. I am sorry. I am so desperately sorry. This is unforgivable, and I do not ask for forgiveness. I only ask that you know she is loved, that wherever she is safe. I hope someday you find peace. I know I never will." The letter was dated 1997, 3 years after I was taken. My grandmother had known for 3 years and still hadn't acted. I felt sick. Betrayed by people who were supposed to protect me, betrayed by a grandmother who'd chosen her daughter over justice, betrayed by an aunt who'd stayed silent out of misplaced loyalty. "She never sent it," I said. "No," Ruth confirmed. "She wrote it dozens of times, trying to find the right words, but she could never bring herself to mail it. After she died, I found all the drafts in her desk. This one was the only one she'd kept."
You should have sent it, I said, anger burning through my shock. You should have sent it after she died. I know, Ruth said, her voice breaking. But then you were grown. You had a life, an identity. I told myself it would be cruel to upend everything when you'd already lived as Lily for so long. I told myself I was protecting you. You were protecting my mother, Patricia, the woman who stole me. Yes, Ruth admitted. I was protecting her too. Because for all her faults, for all the terrible things she's done, she did raise you. She did love you in the only way she knew how. That doesn't make it right. No, Ruth agreed. It doesn't. I looked at the contents of the box spread across the coffee table. The bracelet, the clippings, the photos, the unsent letter, all the pieces of evidence that could have reunited me with my real family years ago. All the pieces that had been kept hidden instead. Does she know you have this? Patricia, does she know Grandma kept all of this? I don't think so, Ruth said. Helen was very careful, and Patricia, she's spent the past 30 years pretending that day never happened, living in her fantasy where you were always hers. She don't think she ever let herself think about the evidence that might exist. I need to talk to her, I said, standing up. I need to hear her say it, to her face. Lily, Ruth started. Emma, I interrupted. My name is Emma. Ruth's face crumbled. Emma, she said softly, please be careful. Patricia, she's not well. She's never been well. And when you confront her with this, I don't know what she'll do. I don't care, I said, gathering the contents of the box and putting them back. I need answers. Real answers, not the lies she's been feeding me my whole life. Ruth nodded sadly. I understand. And for what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for the part I played in this, for the silence I kept. You deserved better. Yes, I said simply. I did. I left Ruth's house with the shoebox under my arm, carrying the evidence of my stolen life, and drove straight to my mother's house. To Patricia's house. To the house of the woman who'd taken everything from me.
Patricia lived in a small craftsman-style house on the outskirts of Seattle, the same house I'd grown up in. She had lived there for over 20 years, long enough that the neighbors knew her, trusted her, saw her as just another middle-aged woman living a quiet life. They had no idea who she really was, what she'd done. I parked in the driveway and sat there for a long moment, staring at the house. How many times had I come through that front door? How many dinners had we shared at the kitchen table? How many lies had been told within those walls? All of them. Every moment of my life had been built on a foundation of lies. I grabbed the shoebox and walked to the front door. Used my key. I still had a key, even though I'd moved out 3 years ago. Let myself in without knocking. Mom? I called out, my voice sounding strange even to my own ears. Lily! Patricia appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She smiled when she saw me, that careful, controlled smile that never quite reached her eyes. What a nice surprise. I didn't know you were coming over. We need to talk, I said. Something in my tone made her smile falter. Is everything all right? No, everything is not all right. I walked past her into the living room and set the shoebox on the coffee table. Patricia followed, her movements cautious, like she was approaching something dangerous. What is that? She asked, staring at the box. The truth, I said. Finally. I opened the box and pulled out the milk carton first, unfolded it and laid it flat on the table, the photo of baby Emma facing up. Patricia went very still. very pale. "Where did you get that?" she whispered. "Grandma's attic," I said. "She kept it, along with everything else." I pulled out the hospital bracelet, the newspaper clippings, the photos of the Mitchells, the unsent letter. Patricia's carefully controlled composure began to crack. Her hands started shaking. She sat down heavily in her armchair, staring at the evidence spread across the table like it might disappear if she looked away. "I can explain," she said, her voice thin and desperate. "Can you?" I asked. "Can you explain why my face is on a missing child poster? Why there's a hospital bracelet with someone else's name on it? Why my grandmother had newspaper clippings about a kidnapped baby?" "You don't understand," Patricia started. "Then make me understand. Make me understand why I spent my entire life believing I was Lily Harper when I'm actually Emma Mitchell. Make me understand why there's a family out there who's been searching for me for 30 years while you've been pretending I was yours." Patricia's face twisted with emotion. Fear, guilt, defiance, all warring for dominance. "I saved you," she said finally. "Saved me?" I repeated, incredulous. "From what?" "From her," Patricia spat, and there was real venom in her voice. "From that woman who couldn't even watch you for 5 minutes without losing you. What kind of mother leaves a 6-month-old baby alone in a hospital?" "She didn't leave me alone," I said. "She stepped away for a moment and you took advantage of that moment to steal her child." "I took advantage of nothing," Patricia said, her voice rising to match mine. "You were there, alone, crying, and I picked you up and you stopped crying. You looked at me like you knew me, like you'd been waiting for me. I was 6 months old. I looked at you because you were holding me. That doesn't mean I was meant to be yours." "But you were," Patricia insisted, standing now, her hands clenched into fists. "Don't you see? I'd been praying for a baby for years. Years of trying, years of procedures, years of disappointment, and then there you were, like an answer to my prayers." "I wasn't an answer to your prayers," I said, my voice cold. "I was someone else's daughter, someone else's answer to prayers, and you stole me." "I loved you," Patricia said, tears streaming down her face now. "From the moment I saw you, I loved you, more than that woman ever could have." "You don't know that. You don't know anything about her because you never gave her a chance. You just took me and ran." "I gave you a good life," Patricia said desperately. "I raised you, fed you, clothed you, loved you. Doesn't that count for something?" "It counts for kidnapping. It counts for identity theft. It counts for destroying a family. That's what it counts for." Patricia sank back into her chair, her face in her hands. "I can't lose you," she whispered. "You're all I have. You're everything." And for a moment, just a moment, I felt a flicker of pity for her. This broken woman who'd wanted a child so desperately that she'd convinced herself that stealing one was justified. But the pity died quickly, smothered by the weight of what she'd done. "What's her name?" I asked quietly. "My real mother. Say her name." Patricia looked up, tears streaking her face. "Jennifer," she whispered. "Jennifer Mitchell." "And my name?" "Emma," Patricia said, the word sounding like it was being torn from her throat. Hearing her say it, finally admitting the truth after 30 years, should have felt like a victory, but it just felt like grief. "I need you to leave," I said. Patricia's eyes widened. "What?" "This is my house now, though it wasn't, not legally. I need you to get out. I need to think. I need to process this without you sitting here trying to justify the unjustifiable. Lily, please. My name is Emma, and I need you to go." Patricia stood slowly, moving like someone in a dream or a nightmare. She walked to the door, turned back one more time. "I'm sorry," she said, her voice broken, "for all of it. But I'm not sorry I got to be your mother, even if I didn't deserve it." "No," I agreed. "You didn't." She left, and I stood in that house, the house where I'd grown up as someone I wasn't, and finally let myself cry. For 3 days,
I didn't contact Patricia. Didn't answer her calls or texts, didn't respond to her increasingly desperate messages. I needed space to think, to grieve, to figure out who I was now that everything I'd believed about myself had been proven false. I spent those days researching, reading every article I could find about the Mitchell family, about the baby who disappeared from St. Mary's Hospital in September 1994, about the investigation that had gone cold, the leads that had gone nowhere, the family that had never stopped hoping. I found Jennifer Mitchell's social media. It was sparse, private, but her profile picture was public. And when I saw it, I understood why everyone had always said I had distinctive features, why I'd never quite looked like I fit with Patricia's family. I looked exactly like Jennifer Mitchell. The same dark curly hair, the same light eyes, the same smile, though hers looked sadder, worn down by years of grief. I also found David Mitchell's profile. He was remarried now, had 2 more children, younger half-siblings I'd never met, but his About section still mentioned Emma, still said he was a father of 3, even though he'd only raised 2. They'd never given up on me, had never stopped considering me their daughter, even after 30 years without answers. And I'd been alive the whole time, living just a few hours away, believing I was someone else entirely. On the 4th day, I called Patricia and told her to come to the house, that we needed to talk. Really talk. She arrived within an hour, looking haggard and desperate. I'd laid everything out on the coffee table again. The milk carton, the bracelet, the clippings, the photos. But I'd added something else. My laptop, open to the Mitchell's website, to Jennifer's face, to the age progression photo that looked exactly like me. Patricia saw it and sank into a chair, her face crumbling. "Tell me everything," I said. "From the beginning. The truth this time. No more lies." And finally, after 30 years, Patricia told me the truth. She'd been working at St. Mary's Hospital for 5 years when she saw me, was walking past the pediatric exam rooms when she heard a baby crying. "I looked in through the window," Patricia said, her voice hollow, "and there you were, alone in the room, crying in your carrier. And something in me just broke. Or maybe it had been broken for a long time. Where was Jennifer?" I asked. "The bathroom," Patricia said. "She'd only been gone a minute, maybe 2, but in my head I convinced myself she'd abandoned you, that she was a bad mother, that you needed me. So you just took me?" "I'd been planning it," Patricia admitted, and my blood ran cold. "Not consciously, maybe, but I'd been fantasizing about it for months. Taking a baby, saving a baby, becoming a mother. I'd been telling people I was pregnant, showed all the signs, bought maternity clothes, prepared a nursery. But there was no baby. I'd miscarried at 8 weeks, but couldn't accept it. So you decided to steal someone else's child?" "I decided to save you," Patricia insisted, but even she didn't seem to believe it anymore. "I put on clean scrubs, picked you up, and walked out. It was so easy, too easy. No one questioned me. No one stopped me." "Because you worked there? Because they trusted you?" "Yes." "And then what?" "I drove to Washington, stayed in a motel for a few days, trying to figure out what to do. But every time I thought about returning you, about calling the police, I looked at you and couldn't do it. You'd stopped crying. You were calm with me. And I convinced myself that meant something, that we were meant to be together. We weren't," I said flatly. "I know that now. But at the time, I couldn't see past my own desperation. So I went home to Seattle, told everyone you'd arrived early, that I'd had you at home, and everyone believed me. Or pretended to believe me. except Grandma. Helen knew. She saw your hospital bracelet before I could remove it, saw that the dates didn't match. But she was my mother. She chose to protect me instead of doing the right thing. She kept evidence, I said, gesturing to the box. Insurance, maybe? Or guilt? I don't know. We never talked about it directly, but I knew she knew, and I knew she knew she knew. And we just lived with that lie between us for 30 years. What about my birth certificate? My social security number? How did you fake all of that? Patricia looked away, ashamed. I bought them. From someone who specialized in creating new identities. It cost me everything I had saved, but I needed you to have legitimate papers. Needed you to be real. I was already real. I was Emma Mitchell, and you erased her. You gave me a better life, Patricia said weakly. You don't know that. You have no idea what my life would have been like with my real family. Maybe it would have been better. Maybe worse. But it would have been mine, my choice, and you took that from me. Patricia was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I know nothing I say will ever be enough, but I am sorry, and I did love you. I still love you. That's not enough, I said quietly. Love does not excuse what you did. It doesn't make it okay. I know. We sat in silence for a long moment. Then I said, I'm going to contact them. The Mitchells. I'm going to tell them who I am. Patricia's face went white. Please don't. Please, Lily. Emma. Please. They'll report me. I'll go to prison. I'll lose everything. You should lose everything. You stole a child. You deserve to face the consequences. But what about you? Patricia asked desperately. If this goes public, your entire life will be scrutinized. Everyone will know. Your friends, your coworkers, everyone. Are you ready for that? I thought about it. Really thought about it. She was right. Going public would mean losing my privacy, my anonymity. It would mean becoming the center of a media circus, the woman who was stolen as a baby and didn't know it for 30 years. But the alternative was continuing to live a lie, continuing to let the Mitchells wonder, continuing to be Lily instead of Emma. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, I said finally. But I'm going to make that decision. Not you. Me. For the first time in my life, I'm going to make my own choice about who I am. Patricia nodded, defeated. Get out, I said quietly. And don't contact me unless I contact you first. I need time, space, to figure out who I am without you. She stood slowly, looking like she wanted to say something more, but she didn't. She just walked out, leaving me alone with the truth of my stolen life. It took me 2 weeks to find the courage to reach out to the Mitchells. 2 weeks of sleepless nights, of staring at Jennifer's photo, of practicing what I would say. How do you tell someone that you're the child they lost 30 years ago? How do you prove it? How do you prepare them for the shock, the pain, the impossible joy of it? I decided on a DNA test first, sent my sample to a genealogy company, and waited. The results came back in 10 days. And there, in black and white, was the confirmation I shared 50% DNA with Jennifer Mitchell and 50% with David Mitchell. I was their daughter. Biologically, undeniably, I was Emma Grace Mitchell. I cried when I saw those results. Cried for the little girl who'd been stolen, for the family who'd been broken, for the 30 years we'd all lost. And then I drafted an email. Dear Jennifer and David, my name is Lily Harper, but I believe I was born Emma Grace Mitchell. I found a photo of myself as an infant on a missing child poster. The date, the location, the details all match. I've taken a DNA test that confirms I'm your biological daughter. I don't know how to write this. I don't know what to say that could possibly make this easier or better, but you need to know that I'm alive. I've been alive this whole time, raised by a woman who took me from St. Mary's Hospital in 1994. I'm so sorry for the years you lost, for the grief you endured, for the not knowing. If you want to meet me, I'm here. If you need time, I understand. If you want proof, I have it. I don't know how to end this email. How do you sign off when you're telling someone you're the daughter they've been mourning for 30 years? I guess I'll just say, I'm here. I'm alive. And I'm so sorry it took so long to find you. Emma. I sent it before I could second-guess myself, before I could delete it and rewrite it for the 100th time, and then I waited. The response came 6 hours later. Just 2 words. Call me. And a phone number. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely dial. The phone rang once, twice. On the 3rd ring, someone picked up. Hello? A woman's voice, trembling, hopeful, terrified. Jennifer? I said. Emma, she whispered. And then we were both crying, 2 strangers connected by blood and time and an impossible miracle. I can't believe it's you, Jennifer said through her tears. I can't believe you're alive. I never stopped hoping, but I never really believed. I'm here, I said. I'm real, and I'm so sorry it took so long to find you. Don't apologize, Jennifer said. God, don't apologize. This isn't your fault. You were a baby. You couldn't have known. But I could have found you sooner, if I'd questioned things, if I'd looked harder. Stop, Jennifer said firmly. You were a child being raised by someone you trusted. You had no reason to doubt your identity. This isn't on you. It's on her, the woman who took you. We talked for 2 hours that first night about everything and nothing. About my childhood, my life, my interests, about her search, her grief, her family. She told me about David, about my half-siblings, Nathan, 25, and Grace, 22, named after me, after the middle name I'd never known was mine. She told me about the years of therapy, the support groups, the way the loss had nearly destroyed their marriage before they'd found a way to rebuild. And I told her about Patricia, about the lies, the fake birth certificate, the carefully constructed identity that had hidden me for 30 years. I want to meet you, Jennifer said finally. If you're comfortable with that, I want to see you in person, to hold you, to make sure you're real. I want that too, more than anything. We arranged to meet the following week. Neutral ground, a coffee shop in Portland, the city where I'd been taken. I was terrified, excited, grieving, hopeful, all of it at once. And when the day came, when I walked into that coffee shop and saw Jennifer standing there, this woman who looked so much like me, who'd been searching for me for 30 years, I knew. I knew who I was. Not Lily, not entirely Emma either, maybe, but someone in between. Someone who'd been both, who'd lost one identity and gained another, who was finally whole. Jennifer saw me and her face crumbled. She crossed the coffee shop in 3 strides and pulled me into her arms. My baby girl, you came home. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I actually had.
It's been a year since I found that milk carton in my grandmother's attic. A year since my entire identity was upended. Since I learned that everything I thought I knew about myself was a lie. The aftermath was complicated, messy, painful. Patricia was arrested 6 months ago, charged with kidnapping, identity fraud, and a dozen other crimes. She's awaiting trial now, facing a possible life sentence. part of me feels guilty about that. She did raise me in her broken, damaged way. But the rest of me knows she made her choices. She has to face the consequences. I've been building a relationship with the Mitchells, with my real family. It's strange and wonderful and awkward all at once, getting to know Jennifer and David as an adult, not as their infant daughter. Meeting Nathan and Grace, these siblings I never knew I had. Learning family stories, seeing family photos, fitting myself into a history I was never part of. They've been patient, understanding. They know I'm not the baby they lost, that I'm someone else now, someone shaped by 30 years with Patricia, for better or worse. But I'm theirs too. Their DNA, their features, their daughter. I go by Emma now. It took some getting used to. 30 years of being Lily doesn't disappear overnight. But Emma feels right. Like I'm finally being who I was always meant to be. I'm still working through it all in therapy. The trauma of discovering your entire identity is a lie doesn't heal quickly. Maybe it never fully heals. But I'm learning to live with the duality of it. Lily and Emma, the person I was raised to be and the person I was born as. Both are real. Both are me. I think about Patricia sometimes. Wonder if she regrets it now that she's facing the consequences. Wonder if she understands the magnitude of what she did, the ripples of pain that extended from that single moment of theft. I don't forgive her. Maybe someday, but not now. Not yet. What I do know is this. Some truths arrive late. Some arrive folded inside a milk carton, hidden at the bottom of a box, waiting 30 decades to be discovered. But once they arrive, you can't ignore them. You have to face them, accept them, rebuild yourself around them. And that's what I'm doing. One day at a time, I'm becoming Emma, the daughter who was lost, the daughter who was found, the daughter who finally knows her own name.